new first-year Barren County football coach John Myers. Not his first year as a football coach. He's done this a little while. John, I remember, I tell people this story all the time. Whenever you went to Monroe County, it was my first year here. And that first season, you used to tell me, who gives you better barbecue than I do?
I think I actually said, who takes care of you better than I do. But it was through the barbecue.
Yes,
there
that
you
is
go.
true. That is true. That is true.
Well, we tried to take care of you anyway.
Yeah, well, you always did. You had to have a big old cooler full of barbecue usually back at the field house.
I've got to give John Pettit a little credit on that, too.
Is that right?
He was always in charge of the barbecue.
Well, that does strike me as a John Pettit kind of thing.
There you go.
I'm sure he demanded to be in charge of the barbecue.
That's right.
Well, here you are entering your first season as the football coach at Barren County. And I guess I have to ask you, you've been an assistant coach at Glasgow for a few years now. And your last stint as a head coach was for, 15 years at Russellville? Is that what it was?
14.
14. Mm-hmm. And what made you decide that you wanted to go back and be a head coach again?
I guess Coach Butler can probably relate to this. If it is a weak moment, wasn't it, Coach?
That's right. Weakness set in.
No, I'm kidding. I was very fortunate at Monroe County and at Russellville and at Glasgow. Well, in Mayfield before that, but in Hancock County. But I was very fortunate to be in a situation where our teams had the opportunity for success, and I thoroughly enjoyed working with Coach Garman at Glasgow. My son played there, and those were some special years for us. And I had kind of made the decision, really, before last football season, that was probably going to be my last one at Glasgow, or as an assistant. It was time for to do something different, and I really wasn't planning on getting into a head coaching job, even though I had kind of kept that as a possibility if the right situation came about. And so when the football season was over, I mean, it never even crossed my mind. I wasn't looking for any jobs or anything, and then this popped open, and it was just a situation where I felt like it was a good opportunity to go into a situation and try to I saw it as a challenge. I saw it as an opportunity to go to a place that was really, everybody I talked to, they just seemed like that they were just starving for a successful football program.
Right.
And I know that I've got a lot of friends that have coached there and worked their tail off to lay the foundation for future success. And so it was just a unique opportunity that I felt like, hey, let's give this a shot. Let's see what we can do. I run the wing tee. A lot of people aren't too keen on the wing tee. They want to get in the gun. They want to spread it out and throw it around. And I feel like this offense fits Barren County also. I feel like it's a run heavy offense where you're trying to control the clock. You want to control the time of possession. And I feel like that's what I feel like that's what Barren County can do to be successful. And I just saw it as a tremendous opportunity and challenge, and thought, why not? I'm 53. I'm retired, and if it works out, great. If it doesn't, and it's funny. I'll share this story with you. I did a lot of soul searching over whether to apply, and I did a lot of praying, and if this was God's will, if that's what you want me to do, and to make a long story short, I drive a truck part time, and it was right before the snowstorm hit, and we needed to make a delivery before the snow hit the next day or two. And I was out on an unusual Saturday delivery, and on my way home, my route took me on Trojan Trail. And as I turned on Trojan Trail, I hadn't been on Trojan Trail a quarter of a mile, and the phone rang, and it was Bo Matthews offering me the job. And so I thought that was a pretty clear sign.
Yeah.
And so it's worked out. We've got a tremendous group of young men that are working extremely hard. We've got a tremendous group of parents that are gung ho in the booster club and trying to do everything they can to give these kids in this program what they need to be successful. I've got a group of assistant coaches that are selfless and that are working extremely hard and have great relationship with those kids. The school administration has done everything we've asked to do, and it's been a pleasure. As there's days when you get up and you think, man, it's gonna be a long day today, or it's gonna be a hot practice tonight. But what am I thinking? What I get myself? And as soon as you get there, you get around those kids, and you see the eagerness in their eyes. Don't get me wrong; they're not exactly excited about practice in 95-degree heat either. But they're there, so it's been a blessing.
Well, and a couple of things. I mentioned the Russellville, but I'm pretty sure about the same time you took the Russellville job, Barren County courted you for the football job at that time. Your wife, being a Barren County graduate, I guess, is, family. I guess family wanted to have you guys around here. I guess your children were very young at that point, or maybe not born. And so, but you took that Russellville, and that turned out to be a path in your career where you moved up the administration beyond just being a football coach. So is this kind of an opportunity, you and your wife being around here, having been back in this area for a number of years now, to kind of stay here and do something that maybe you're like, I wonder what would have happened if I took that job way back then?
Yeah, that's a lot of it. I had 3 or 4 different opportunities to come back to Barren and be the football coach, and for whatever reason, I was in a great situation at Russellville. My kids were in a really good place at the time, and it just didn't seem, the timing just didn't seem right at the time, and like I said, I really wasn't expecting this now, but when it happened, I was like, maybe this is the time, because I'm not getting any younger, and so I think you're right, James. I think that played a lot into it. Anytime. And I'm sure Coach Butler was probably courted by several schools in the area with the success he had in the girls' basketball program, and maybe even thought about an opportunity or two. But at the same time, those things are flattering, and you appreciate those. You do, even if you don't take those positions, you still appreciate the fact that everybody wants to feel wanted. Everybody wants to, wants to know that people, care about what they do and want you to be around. So that was always part of it too. I felt like, maybe, God works in mysterious ways. He's, this opportunity's come around 3 or 4 times. If it comes around again, maybe I should take it.
Right.
And so here we are.
Yeah. John?
Let's talk about your application of your wing tee and your players. I know you got to – listen, I'm a big Tate Spillman fan. I mean, I watched him last year and even his sophomore year. I mean, he looks like to me he would fit that system perfectly. Smart, he can read things. He's tough, throw, run, and so forth. Just talk about how your personnel right now. I know you haven't scrimmaged anybody yet, and so you'll have to adapt to some of that. But how's all that kind of fitting in personnel with your scheme?
Well, you was talking about Tate there. I totally agree. I think he fits this system like a glove. I think he will end up being a tremendous quarterback in this offense. I mean, he's a tremendous football player, quarterback, and probably in any offense. Let's just be honest. So, and then from the personnel standpoint, I always felt like that the personnel at Barren fit this offense, from the linemen to the receivers to the backs, unfortunately, man, we've been really hammered with the injury bug this summer. Braxton Carnes was a key player that tore his ACL back at the 1st of June.
He was a good defensive player, too.
Then Briggs Harris is another kid that was really vying for some time, really speedster, really moves well. He didn't tear anything, but he aggravated his knee in 7-on-7 on July 18th, so he's out a few weeks. I'm trying to think. There's another one or two that's we've had a couple of key injuries on our offensive line, and whenever regardless of what classification you are, whether you're 1A or 6A, you lose two or three of your better athletes, better football players, man, it takes a toll. And
Sure does.
Fortunately, it happened when it did in some ways, and that we're going to be able to, figure it out hopefully. But I was a wishbone triple option veer type coach up until 2014, and stumbled across this offense at an All-Star game. I was coaching an All-Star game with Coach Jim McKee from Scott County, and they had just come off of winning the 2013
6A.
state championship.
6A.
6A.
Yeah, not Trinity, not
No,
St. X,
no,
Scott
they
County.
won, and this was what they were doing.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And I felt like when I was at Russellville, I was looking at it, I was like, man, that fits us. That fits us. And I went completely cold turkey on what we were doing and went straight into this. And it was it made us a much, much better football team.
Mm-hmm.
And so I believe in this. I think our kids are starting to believe in it. Waylon Clemens, he's another offensive or defensive player, and I don't think had played a lot of offense over the years.
He was a leading tackler last year.
Yeah, and
But he's athletic.
He is, and so with we had a couple of Z's that were banged up, and we call their Z our wing position, the wing back, and I said, Waylon, because Waylon didn't practice a lot of offense the whole spring practice in the month of June when we practiced. And I just went to Waylon. I said, Waylon, I need you to learn this offense, man. I said, I don't know how much you're going to play in it or not, or if you even want to play offense. I said, but this team needs you to figure this out. And so he's really been working at it the last about 2 or 3 weeks. And last week at practice, he said, I'm starting to get the hang of this. I kind of like this. I kind of like this.
Yeah.
So it's like a light bulb went off. And I'm telling you what, he can help us. And you have to have depth. You can't have one kid at each position like that. You've got to have some depth. And, so basically through the injuries that we've had, I think it's been able to help us find some other kids that have stepped up in those positions and given us added depth. So, I'm anxious to see how that plays out with all of our kids.
Well, and I think one thing, last year, Barren County lost all of their linebackers and most of their linemen, at the beginning of last season to graduation and that kind of thing. But they had a good defensive backs back. That defensive back situation is the same as it was last year, I think, and depending on what you decide to do. And so, on the defensive side, you've got a bunch of guys who are probably sophomores that were playing linebacker and lineman. So I would think you like the experience you have coming back on defense.
Oh no, definitely. We I know Dakota Wade and Bray Bewley are both returning as corners. Tate Spillman returns as the safety as well. We've got a slew of sophomores. I tell you what, a tremendous sophomore class with some kids that are stepping up and fighting and really competing heavily for some playing time. And you go across the board. Colton Thomas, I think, played defensive end last year. We've moved him down inside to like a nose guard in our 50 look and our 3-3 stack look. And he's a quick, strong kid that we feel like maybe will be able to cause some problems from the interior. You've got Nolan Harlow, who is returning. Because I think he was injured in the first game of the year last year, missed the whole season. So I know he's looking forward to being back out there. You've got Corbin Wells, a sophomore, looking at middle linebacker. You've got Cody Kearney, on the offensive side, looking at a lot of fullback and some linebacker play as well. But then you got Waylon Clemens, Braden Shoulders, Steele Whitaker. Looking at some linebacker play.
Truitt, is he back?
Who?
Logan Truitt?
No.
I'm Jackson Reese is.
No,
he's not. Okay.
No. And Jackson Bird looking at some defensive side of the ball. Baylor Browning is really coming on strong, doing a tremendous job.
Yeah, played so much.
Jordan Harris, another sophomore, doing a tremendous job. Sean Brody, man. Sean Brody's a tough cookie, and he's going to give us some strength on that defensive line as well. So we got a lot of kids. Our offensive line is beginning to gel. Alex Sawyer and Ethan Bertram, Grayson Billingsley, Charlie Poland, Ryan Harrison.
And it's a totally different blocking scheme under the wing.
It is. Carson Geralds. We got a lot of kids that are really competing and vying for some opportunities. And, some of those young kids are pushing those older kids. And,
That's fine. It makes
competition's
you better.
a great thing.
That's exactly right.
Well, I was going to say, a lot of times, I mean, if I'm, and this may have just been the Russellville situation, but I think even at Monroe County, as I recall, you liked your linemen who could, like, get off the ball and like, reach people on the blocks and that kind of stuff. And on the defensive side, you kind of like quick linemen, maybe even more so than just big dudes, right?
Well, when I was at Russellville, we didn't have the size was not kind of our forte. We had a few big linemen, big strong linemen, and we used them where we could, especially on the offensive line. But on the defensive side of the ball, we played with a 175-pound nose guard a lot of times, and just turned them loose, and they caused a lot of problems.
Yeah.
So it just depends on your personnel and what you look for and everything. But, yeah, as far as those linemen need to come off the ball, they need to give your backs a room to run. And I've said it a lot of times before, I believe that in high school football, in order to win, you have to be able to run the football and you have to be able to stop the run. And if you can do those two things, you're going to put yourself in a position. Don't get me wrong, we want to throw the ball. We want to. We want to be able to do that. We want to do that when we want to, not when we have to.
Right.
And so that's just kind of our philosophy, and we're looking forward to seeing how it works out for us. I mean, it doesn't happen as quick as you would like for it to. You come into a situation like this, and I mean, these kids are having to learn completely new terminology. They're having to learn complete new offensive and defensive sets and formations and play calling, and so you come in thinking it's easy because I've done it for 10 years, and but it takes some time. It takes some time for these kids to figure it out. And even Tate, you'll see him sitting there thinking about some things from time to time. You understand because all of these kids have been bombarded with a lot of information.
Right. Yeah. John, you got some questions about his schedule?
Oh, well, I like a schedule, to be honest with you. I mean, just schedule is a schedule. You don't know until you play, and I just know as a coach, you kind of look at that first one and you just kind of move on from there. But I just wanted your scrimmages. You got two scrimmages first. Hart, who I think was semifinals in the state last year.
They were.
Yeah, lost to Bell County.
Yeah,
2 points away. They got beat 30-28 to go to state championship
that's correct.
game by Bell County.
And you got them in a dare. I would think this first year, it's maybe a little bit more important than normal, just because you want to get your kids by the time the first couple of games, rather than thinking, playing, and maybe that'll get some of the kinks out where the terminology and things like that through the scrimmage. And plus you can see, I just think sometimes as a coach, there's one thing what you can watch in practice, there's another thing what you can watch when you play somebody.
Sure
Who's not necessarily a gamer, but who does the little things or goes, I just think game play is much different than practice.
It absolutely is, because I don't know if you knew Gwen Gaddy. Coach Gaddy was my defensive coordinator at Russellville for a few years. And he had a term for those guys that he called them silks. He said they sure don't look very good in practice, but you put the game uniform on them on Friday night, and buddy, they come to play. Yeah. He called them silks. And, I'm anxious to find that out because, we're going by what's happening in practice. And, there's a lot of times you've got kids that really look good in practice and do everything right, and you get them on the game field on Friday night when the lights come out, and it's almost like, not that they're not getting anything accomplished, but they're not doing what you kind of thought they would. And then you got kids that can't get anything done in practice, and all of a sudden, next thing you know, the lights come on, and man, it's like, where did this kid come from? So, of course, we're looking forward to finding those things out, and looking forward to some competition this coming Friday night with Hart County coming over. They of course, they went to the Final Four, like Coach Butler said last year. they lost some really good football players. They had a really nice senior class, but they had 18 juniors too, and they've got a tremendous senior class this year. So they're not going to fall off a whole lot.
Yeah,
they may not be quite what they were last year early, but I think as the season goes, if they stay healthy, they got a chance to be another really good football team. And well, they've been running their system for several years now, and we're just kind of trying to figure it out. So,
right.
We'll see how things go Friday night, but it's a great challenge. It's a great measure to see where we're at. And then Adair County, the scrimmage the next week, they've got a tremendous senior class coming back too. They've got a
well coached too. He does a good job.
does a good job. I mean,
he was really good at Casey. Turned
yes,
the program around.
Adair's got they got a good football team this coming year. They're going to be hard to deal with. So both of these scrimmages are going to get us. You
got 6 home games,
ready.
6 home games and 4 road games. That's one of the better teams on your schedule. I mean, you got the traditional ones that we normally play early. Metcalf, Monroe, Glasgow, 3 of the first 5. Obviously, everybody with Glasgow, but go to Greene, who's where I'm from. And they got a really good football team.
Oh,
they came down last year and wore us out 38-0, but they are really, really good.
Normally do now. And so I look at this schedule, and I told somebody this is a very, very scary schedule in a lot of ways because I look at it and I see, I think we can beat every team on this schedule, and I look at it and I think, every team on this schedule can beat us,
right.
and I mean that.
Yeah.
I mean that. So I do. I think we're capable of competing and winning every ball game on our schedule. But at the same time, I think every team on our schedule can beat us if if we don't play. I mean that. And Coach Butler, I mean, I'm sure he can relate to that.
Yeah, I couldn't wait for that first win.
Yeah.
Of course, I had 30 to play with. You got 10. I couldn't wait to get to the first one.
I was a head baseball coach before I became a head football coach, and I found out quick as a head football coach. You get beat on Friday night, you have to think about that and live with that for a week.
Yep.
You don't, baseball, you get beat on Monday, you get to play on Tuesday.
That's correct.
You get a chance. Basketball, you get beat on Tuesday, you get to play on Friday or whatever, That football, man, when you lose a game,
it's a
man.
long week.
It's a long week.
So you're hoping for not many long weeks
Well,
this season, right?
I mean, you got to be realistic. But the bottom line is, and I tell our kids this all the time, our job as coaches is to put those kids in position to make plays, and it's the kids' job to make plays.
Yeah.
Our job is to put you in position, and I promise you, I'll never. If I don't put you in position, you'll never see me upset. And there's a lot of times that I'll call a play, and I look out there and say, "Gosh, dang, there's no way this is going to work," because I've called a bad. I felt like they were going to be in something different defensively, and they switched on us or whatever. I'll never hold those kids accountable for something that's not their, not their fault.
Right.
We want to put those kids in position, and that's our whole goal is to put those kids in position to make plays and let them go out there and have fun and play them. Because, especially on the defensive side of the ball, I mean, it is so important to get lined up right and get those kids in position to defend what you're going to be going up against. And but it's exciting at the same time, So Coach Mason Perkins, he's going to be calling our defense, and Chad Eaton, who is going to be instrumental on our offensive side of the ball. I probably wear them out on the phone because we're talking, and that's mostly what we're talking about is positioning, and what can we do to put our kids in the best possible position to be successful.
Well, before your scrimmage on Friday against Hart County at home, both your scrimmages were at home, right?
They are.
Okay.
We were supposed to scrimmage at Hart County this Friday, but they're having some renovations made to their field, and it's not going to be ready. And Coach asked if we could do it at our place.
All right. And does that start at 6 or 7?
6 p.m.
6 p.m. And then, of course, Meet the Trojans is on Thursday. I think that starts at 6 as well.
I think it may be 7.
Yeah, it might be 7. But we're going to be out there.
Okay.
We're going to have a little tent set up and have people try to get people to realize that all the sports that we cover on this
Sure.
radio station on our website. But anyway, Coach Myers, I want to thank you for coming in here and talking to us about the upcoming season and look forward to it. I know, John, I'm guessing you're doing a lot of the games this
I
year.
do most of them. I got a nephew that plays it in Lexington
Yeah,
for
so
Lafayette, so
you're
I'll
gonna
miss
miss a
some
few.
to go watch that. But I'll do 75% of them.
All right.
I just do the wins.
That's a great strategy. Tell them to up that to 100%.
Did you say 75%?
That's it. Is that okay? If it's the right 75?
That's not a bad start.
That's right.
Not a bad start.
All right. Well, thank you, Coach Myers, for coming here and talking to us about Barren County football.